In this video, I'm going to try 4 diets in 4 weeks, so you don't have to. And I'm going to try and find out what really works. Diets. Okay, I don't know about you, but I find it really confusing because there are so many diets out there. And there's new ones every year, and they're all radically different from each other, but they all have kind of the same message. They all promise to help you lose weight in a very healthy way and very quickly and very easily. And I just think they can't all be all that good, can they? So I've decided to try 4 of the most popular diets around for the next month, each diet for 1 week. I'll be trying paleo, meal replacement bars, intermittent fasting and keto. I want to make this a proper consumer trial, so I'm going to judge each diet on 10 criteria. I've got my checklist ready, and at the end of each week I will be judging them and giving them a score out of 100. So then you, the consumer, will be able to compare these 4 diets and maybe discover one that might be just right for you. I am just really curious to see which diet comes out on top. If you're curious too, stick with me and keep watching. It's Monday, the 1st of June, and it's the first day of my first diet, and I'm doing paleo this week. Paleo is an eating plan. It's based on how our prehistoric ancestors are supposed to have eaten. So it's really only foods that they would have hunted and gathered. That would be meat, fish, fowl, eggs, fruit, vegetables, nuts and seeds, and the oils that come from those nuts and seeds. As there's no farming, there's no dairy, no grains and no legumes, no refined sugar, no processed foods whatsoever. Nothing man-made, so everything natural, everything wholesome, everything pretty much how I already eat. But I love Greek yogurt every morning for breakfast, and I am obsessed with ice cream, and I have ice cream every single night after dinner. So this is kind of what I'm worried about for the week ahead. And what I don't want to do, paleo has become a whole industry, and if you go into the supermarket, you'll see all these products that are paleo, but they're manufactured, and they're, in my mind, hunters and gatherers would not have had, chocolate muffins and special paleo banana bread and all this kind of stuff. I mean, give me a break. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to buy those products. Everything that I eat, I'm going to make myself from scratch. So I'm going to weigh myself now. I've done a little bit of preparation for the coming week. I've stocked up on fruit. I always have a lot of fruit anyway, but I got extra. And I whipped up a batch of my paleo-friendly salmon and sweet potato cakes. These are so yummy. Oh, this is the really sad part. Yesterday was my birthday, and Mr. Cameraman made my absolute all-time favorite cake / dessert. It's his Black Forest cheesecake. How good does that look? Anyway, I've had to freeze it, so yeah, so I won't be eating that for quite a while. I don't know, maybe week 3 I might be able to have a slice, but that's so depressing. Anyway, out of sight, out of mind. It's 5 p.m. It's still Monday, it's still day 1, and I'm just thinking about after dinner I can't have my ice cream, and I'm really depressed. Oh dear, it's not, it doesn't bode well for the week. That's all I wanted to say. Just wanted to document my patheticness. Thanks, you can go now. It's Sunday, late afternoon. Yay! I was feel about paleo?
How do you feel about paleo?
I don't like it. There is no joy in paleo. There's no treats. I had nothing to look forward to all week. So let's rate this diet, shall we? First of all, taste. The taste of paleo is really what you make of it. I'll rate it an 8 for taste, but that's really an 8 for me, making it tasty. How easy is it to follow? Very easy to follow, so I'll give it a 9. Hunger. Oh boy, I was so hungry this whole week. I was basically trying to fill up all day, trying not to be hungry. This is a hunger diet for me. I'm going to rate this low. For hunger, I'm going to give it a 3. How convenient is this diet? Pretty convenient. I found it was helpful to prep ahead, so I made those salmon cakes. That made my life so much easier. It's pretty convenient. I'll give it a 7. Cost. I don't think you have to buy especially expensive things on this diet, so it's good for cost. I'll give it a 9. Energy levels. I did all my regular exercise. I didn't notice a drop in energy. I had a drop in mood, but I'm not rating my mood here. I'm rating my physical energy. It was as good as always. I'll give it a 9. Variety. I must confess I got into a rut this week. Let me show you my paleo day on a plate. Almost every day. I did vary the dinners a lot, but there wasn't a lot of variety. So yeah, probably my fault, but I'm just gonna give it a 6. How enjoyable was this diet? I didn't find this diet enjoyable at all. I was a very, very sad little girl this week. I know there are more important things in life, but I need my treats. Enough said. I'm going to give this a 2. I've got to be honest. 2 out of 10. Is it a long-term proposition? The only way that I could do this for long-term would be to buy paleo treats. If you're buying paleo bars and paleo cakes and paleo chocolates, you're not eating how prehistoric man ate, so you're not doing paleo. So no. For me, not a long-term proposition. I would give it a 1 out of 10 because I would be so miserable. I could do it, but I wouldn't be happy. And how effective is this diet for weight loss? Well, that will have to wait till tomorrow when I do my weigh-in, first thing in the morning. All right, it's time to weigh in. Let's see if my week in paleo purgatory was worth it. Ooh, I've actually lost 600 grams, which is just over a pound, so that's pretty effective. So I'm going to rate this 8 for effectiveness, which brings the grand total for paleo to 62 out of 100. Not bad. And my starting weight for week 2 will be 52.3 kilos. It's Monday of week 2. A brand new week and a brand new diet for me to try. This week, I'm going to be doing meal replacements. Talk about going from one extreme to another. Last week it was nothing processed, and this week it's pretty much everything is processed, at least all the breakfasts and lunches. So these are my breakfasts for the week. These are shakes, chocolate flavor, and these are bars for lunch, and there's a few different flavors there. All covered in chocolate. So I was missing chocolate. I don't think I'll be missing chocolate. There's also a lot of sugar in these products. So probably not nutritionally fantastic. They're also very high in salt and very low in fibre, which is a worry for me because could lead to trouble down below. For this reason, they recommend you drink 2 litres of water a day and 2 cups of vegetables with your evening meal. You can have any reasonable dinner, just keep it kind of dietary. This is working on cutting your calories, obviously, cutting your calories at breakfast and lunch so that you can have a sort of a normal meal and should expect to lose weight. I think this diet is going to live or die on its taste. I mean, there's no doubt that it's convenient. It doesn't have a lot of variety, but that's okay. As long as it tastes fantastic, then I don't mind eating the same thing every day. Look at this bar. That's just... smells amazing, by the way, but look at that. That's just a chocolate bar, isn't it? With a few vitamins and minerals thrown in. So as long as that tastes really nice, I'll be happy. Probably a lot happier than last week. I hit a bit of a hurdle yesterday when I had my first breakfast shake. I knew they were salty, but it wasn't until I tasted it that I realized how unbelievably salty it is. And look, my body just can't handle salt, and all day I was gassy and bloated, and I had this raging thirst that I just couldn't get rid of. And I felt awful all day, and I thought, no way that I can continue with this shake. But I want to continue for the whole week. Fortunately, I'm not testing a specific product. I'm testing the concept of meal replacements. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give up those shakes, and I'm going to swap for this chocolate whey protein powder that I'll make into a shake. I've had this in the past. This really agrees with my body. It's got similar calories to the other shakes, so I'm just going to have this every morning. I'll be way happier. Doing a meal replacement diet. I'm into fresh, healthy food, and this is all manufactured and processed, and I thought it was a bit faddy. So yeah, I didn't hold high hopes for the week, but I was actually rather surprised. So I'm going to get straight into it and rate this diet. First of all, taste. Okay, look, you saw day one where I had a real problem with those salty shakes. So I'm going to kind of push that aside and base it from after I fixed that problem and replaced that shake. From then on, it was amazing. The bars, oh, so delicious. I look forward to those bars with a fervor that I don't think I've felt since I tasted a caramel Kit Kat. They're amazing. I loved the taste of this diet. I'm going to have to give it 10 out of 10. How easy was it to follow? You just have to eat a couple of cups of vegetables every night and drink lots of water. It's so easy to follow. I have to give it 9 out of 10. How hungry was I on this diet? This was the biggest surprise for me. I didn't have a single hunger pain all week. In fact, it was almost the opposite. By the time dinner came around, I was like, oh, I don't really feel like anything. And also, I had no sugar cravings. Now, look, I know there's a ton of sugar in those bars, but normally I would be, as the day goes on, looking forward to and really craving something sweet for the evening, and it was the opposite. By the time I had my dinner, I couldn't even face the thought of ice cream, or it was very weird. No hunger, no cravings, amazing. I have to rate this 10 out of 10. How convenient is this diet? Obviously super convenient, because all you're doing is ripping open a packet and eating it. You can go out to eat in the evening if you want and eat a normal meal with your family. So convenient. I have to give it 9 out of 10. Cost. I spent $20 on the shakes, and I spent $20 on the bars. That's more than I would normally spend on breakfast and lunch, so I will have to mark this diet down for cost, but that's okay. You can't get 10 out of 10 for everything, so I'm going to give it 5 out of 10. How much energy did I have? Like last week, this week I didn't notice any drop in my physical energy whatsoever. I was able to do all my normal exercise, so I'll rate this 9 out of 10. Variety. Alright, now this is where the diet really does fall down. Obviously, there is not much variety. Sure, there's a bit of variety in the flavors of the bars or shakes, but that's not really eating a wide variety of food, is it? And I think, although I loved it for a week, I think that it would get pretty old pretty quickly. So I can only give this diet 3 out of 10 for variety. How enjoyable was this diet? Loved it. I really looked forward to those lunches. And I loved, just having whatever I wanted in the evening within reason. I would give this 10 out of 10, but I'm going to deduct a couple of points because I don't actually love drinking my breakfasts. I like a big plate or bowl of food that I can really tuck into. So that spoilt the enjoyment a little bit for me. I'm going to give this 8 out of 10. Is this a long-term proposition? I don't think it's nutritionally balanced enough to keep you healthy in the long term. There's no antioxidants, very, very low in fibre. Fine to replace the odd meal here and there, but I wouldn't follow this as a total weight loss program for a long time. I'm going to give it 4 out of 10. And how effective is this diet for weight loss? Well, that is the burning question really, because the only reason I think that you would follow a meal replacement diet is to lose weight as easily as possible. So I won't know until I weigh myself first thing in the morning. Okay, let's see if living on shakes and chocolate bars is good for your weight. Ooh, I've lost 500 grams. That's just over 1 pound. I wasn't expecting that. Almost as good as last week. So I'm going to have to give this diet a 7 for effectiveness. And it brings the grand total for meal replacements to 74. Wow, that's amazing. Way, way better than paleo. Impressed. And my starting weight for week 3 is 51.8 kilos. It's Monday morning of week 3, and this week I'm trying intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is where you cycle between periods of fasting and periods of eating. So there's no laws about what you actually eat. It's more about when you eat. So rather than being a diet per se, it's actually an eating pattern. You may have heard of the 5-2 diet, where on 5 days of the week you eat normally and 2 days of the week you eat very, very low calories. That is a type of intermittent fasting. Another very popular method is where you have a window of eating each day of a set number of hours, and the rest of the time you eat nothing. And that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to set myself a window of just 6 hours, which means I'll be fasting for 18 hours every day. And I will make my window 1 p.m. until 7 p.m. each day. So that means I'll be having no breakfast, nothing until lunch, and nothing after dinner. That's not as hard as it sounds, because remember that you're asleep for a lot of that time. So really, all you're doing is missing breakfast. Having a window to eat in doesn't mean that you gorge yourself in that time, because you certainly won't lose any weight if you're just stuffing in tons of food. So you've got to eat sensibly in anticipation of feeling very, very hungry in the morning. I have stocked up on herbal teas. This isn't an ad, this is just my means of coping. So I'm all ready to get started. Only problem is it's only 9 o'clock. Okay, I got 4 hours to go. Not a problem. Oh,
What's the matter with you?
I'm starving. What time is it?
It's 9:30.
What? Only 9:30? How long have I got to go?
Only 3.5 hours.
Oh God, no! What am I gonna do for 3.5 hours?
Come on, off to the beach.
Okay.
What are you doing?
Oh, I forgot to take the cheesecake out of the freezer. I've got 5 minutes to get this thawed. Really? I've had this headache all morning. I think it's from the lack of food. Because my body's not used to it and I can't take anything for it because my headache tablets you have to take with food, otherwise they make me nauseous, so I've just got to kind of ride through it. But so far I am not enjoying this food pattern at all. I am so starving, I can't even describe it, and I'm really faint. I feel really dizzy, and I think I overdid it with the exercise this morning. We went for a super long walk on the beach. I've tried to hang in there till 1 o'clock, but I think I'm gonna have to be sensible and just eat a little earlier, because there's no point just killing myself just to do a trial. You know, you can't be too rigid, and if something isn't really working and you feel awful, there's no point just continuing. You have to make a change. I feel like I might have whinged quite a lot this week, which is not like me. And I hope I didn't give you the wrong impression. I'm gonna get straight in and rate intermittent fasting. First of all, the taste is fantastic because there are no rules about what you can eat. And I loved this week because I got to have my birthday cake, my cheesecake. Finally, I ate everything that I loved. So 10 out of 10 for taste. How easy was this diet to follow? Easiest week ever. No rules, just eat within your window. Couldn't be easier, 10 out of 10. How hungry was I? It's hard to know how to rate this for hunger. Some mornings I would have a nice big cup of tea and that killed all the hunger pains till lunchtime. And then I was never ever hungry within my window of eating. Other days I felt like I would die, and I'm not exaggerating, it was unbearable hunger. So I'm torn between rating it 0 and 10. So I'm going to give it a 5 for hunger. How convenient is this diet? It does depend on what your window of eating is and how it conflicts with whatever you've got going on in your life. I had a couple of breakfast dates that obviously I couldn't do. I will give this diet just 7 for convenience. Cost. This diet I think would actually end up saving you some money because you're eating less meals. So you're spending less money on food. So I'm going to have to rate this super high for cost. I'm going to give it 10 out of 10. Energy levels. Just as in the previous 2 weeks, my energy levels didn't change at all. Just as high as ever. So 9 out of 10. Variety. You're having less meals a day, so there's less opportunity to get variety into your diet. For example, I would often have my breakfast for lunch. So that's kind of the same thing every day. So yeah, less meals, you're gonna have a bit less variety, so I will give this 8. How enjoyable was this diet? Again, I'm torn because on the one hand, I love being able to eat whatever I want. But on the other hand, I was suffering for a couple of days, big time, with hunger and dizziness and just feeling awful. So again, I'm torn between 0 and 10. I'm gonna have to give it a 5. Is this diet a long-term proposition? I don't think that I could stick to this way of eating for a very long time because I'm just having trouble handling the hunger, and I really miss having a morning meal. So yeah, it could be, but I don't know. I'm going to give it a 6. And how effective is this diet for weight loss? We shall see in the morning when I weigh. All right, let's get straight into this weigh-in. Wow, I've lost exactly 1 kilo. That's a record for the month so far. So I have to give this 10 out of 10 for effectiveness, which brings the grand total for intermittent fasting to a whopping 80 out of 100. That is exceptional. The bar has been set very, very high. I don't know how next week is going to top this. And that means that my starting weight for week 4 is 50.8 kilos. I'm nearly at the end of my month of dietary discovery. And for my last week, I'm going to try the ketogenic diet, or keto for short. Keto is an eating plan that puts your body into a state of ketosis. This means that your body burns fat for fuel instead of carbohydrates. It involves drastically reducing your intake of carbohydrates and replacing it with very high fat content. There are several varieties of keto. I'm going to keep it simple and try the standard ketogenic diet, which means I'll be eating approximately 5% carbohydrates, 20% protein, and a whopping 75% fat. I'm only allowed 20 grams of carbohydrate every day, which means no sugar of any kind or in any foods that contain sugar. No grains, no starches, no beans, no legumes, no potatoes, and almost no fruit apart from the odd strawberry. I love fruit. Okay, what I'll be eating instead is meat, chicken, fish, eggs, butter, cream, cheese, healthy oils like olive and coconut oil, nuts, seeds, avocados, and low-carb veggies like celery, spinach, mushrooms. It should take about 3 days for my body to use up my store of carbohydrates, which is called glycogen, and switch to a fat-burning machine. As glycogen holds up to 4 times its weight in water, I might notice quite a big drop on the scales this week, but that would be mostly water that I've lost and not fat. I have to admit, of all the diets that I've tried this month, keto is the one that I've been the most worried about because it just sounds all kinds of wrong, doesn't it? But the more I've looked into it, and especially as I've been checking out all the keto recipes online, I've been getting more excited. The food looks absolutely amazing, so I don't know how busy I will actually get in the kitchen, but I'm definitely inspired. And coming right off the back of a week of intermittent fasting, I cannot wait to have breakfast, and especially a delicious, scrumptious cheese omelette. Oh my God. So let's just get cracking right now. I'm 1 day into keto, and already I can tell you a couple of things. First of all, it is without doubt the most complicated diet that I have ever followed. It's very, very scientific and specific, and if you don't get it exactly right, it's not going to work. Another thing, 20 grams of carbs does not go very far. I found yesterday I made a beautiful omelette, and that was 7.5 grams of carbs, which didn't leave much for the rest of the day. Fortunately, that omelette was so satisfying and filling, I was not hungry for the rest of the day. I couldn't even look at lunch. Another thing about keto, it's like opposite day. I had to weigh all my vegetables, things that you wouldn't normally measure and weigh on a diet, and I had to not weigh and use with complete abandon all the fats, like the coconut oil and the butter and the cheese. I was just sort of throwing that in, trying to increase that, because remember, I've got to have 75% fat. I know it does sound really strange, doesn't it? Anyway, back to the omelette. I'm going to whip up this. This is the yummiest thing ever. I love keto breakfasts. Well, I think ketosis has well and truly kicked in. After I had my breakfast this morning, felt like I had this furnace inside me, like someone had flicked a switch and turned my body into an engine that's just raring to go. I've got so much energy. I just have to get moving and burn some energy off. So I'm going to go for a nice long walk. See ya! energy because I overdid the exercise and I've damaged my knee. Gonna have an x-ray later, so double-edged sword, you can have too much energy. So I'm gonna go ahead and rate keto now. First of all, the taste. I loved the taste of everything this week. I had beautiful omelets every morning with cheese and oh God, so delicious. And I would get busy in the kitchen and make these amazing dinners. We did a red curry lamb one night with coconut milk. Oh, and I made these beautiful meringues topped with cream and strawberries for dessert. God, so delicious. I made beautiful guacamole, which is just lovely on everything. It just went swimmingly well, so let's rate this diet for taste. That's a perfect 10. How easy is this diet to follow? At first it was not easy at all. Very out of my comfort zone here. Back and forwards on the computer looking up, is this allowed on keto and is that allowed? And I guess if you just keep going, you would get used to this diet. You just got to kind of roll with it. So let's rate this diet for easiness. And that's a 5. How hungry was I? I had no hunger whatsoever. I have never had such sustaining breakfasts in my life. I was not able to look at food after breakfast until dinner time, and I was barely even hungry by dinner. This diet is the ultimate hunger buster because it's so high in fat, and fat really is what keeps you satiated. It's amazing. It's just curtains for hunger. Let's rate it. And that's another 10. How convenient is this diet? I wouldn't say keto is the most convenient diet that I followed. There's a lot more cooking that I'm used to, especially the breakfasts. I don't know what you would have for breakfast on keto that doesn't take a fair amount of preparation, but the payoff is that it tastes amazing. So if you don't mind a little bit of extra cooking, you'll find this diet fairly convenient. So let's rate it now and see what pops up. And that's a 7. What about cost? I actually found this week was a bit more expensive for me because I was buying things like lamb, chicken, bacon, cheese, nuts are very expensive. And I bought a very expensive sugar substitute that has no carbs for my cooking. That was $9 for a packet, which would normally be $1 if you were buying sugar. So keto is definitely more expensive. Let's rate it now and see if it hits the target. And that's a 6. How are my energy levels? They were super high, as you know. Couldn't have been higher, too high. But I'm not going to hold that against keto. I was flushed with energy this week. Let's see how it rates. Another perfect 10. What about variety? Although there's a fair amount of variety in the foods that you're allowed to choose from, there's also a lot of foods that you can't have, especially things like fruit, which I love, grains, bread, pasta, rice. It is hard to have a lot of variety in your diet when you have to toss out an entire food group. So let's see how it rates. Just a 5. How enjoyable was this diet? I loved my week on keto until this happened, but I can't blame keto for that. That was my fault for being silly. I enjoyed all the food that I ate. I loved trying new recipes, and I created some really gourmet dishes for us. I think Mr. Cameraman really enjoyed this week the most too. Yeah, out of all the diets that I tried this month, keto would actually be my pick. So let's rate it now. Oh, it's a magical 10. Is this diet a long-term proposition? I think of all the diets, this would be the one that I could follow for the longest time, but with modifications. I would actually allow myself a little more carbohydrates, some more variety in my vegetables, and I would toss in a bit of fruit, and I would keep my fat very high because I love that that keeps me feeling full and satisfied. So let's see the rating that I've cooked up for keto. It's a tasty 8. And how effective is keto for weight loss? Well, that really is the final piece of the puzzle, isn't it? And like always, we'll find out in the morning when I hobble onto the scales. It's time for my final weigh-in for the month. There you go. Oh wow, I've lost another whole kilo. That's over 2 pounds. Very good. That means I've got to give this 10 out of 10 for effectiveness, which brings the grand total for keto. Let me see. Yes, 81. It has pipped intermittent fasting by a nose. Well, it's time to see how these 4 diets stack up. We kicked off proceedings with Paleo. I wasn't a big fan of Paleo, but it did come in at a respectable 62. Then there was meal replacements, which I didn't have high hopes for, but it did much better with 74. Then along came intermittent fasting, which pulled way ahead with a big score of 80. I thought that was hard to beat, but keto did it, pipping it with a magnificent 81. I must confess now, I had this completely upside down in my mind. I thought that Paleo would come out on top and keto would come bottom. So what do I know? So what have I learnt from my month of experiments? First of all, there is no one-size-fits-all diet. Also, what works for me might not work for you, and vice versa, because we all have different bodies and different diet histories and different lifestyles. So you really need to find something that works well for you, and sometimes you have to try different things. And now I'd be really interested to hear your experiences, particularly if you have tried any of these 4 diets. Leave me a comment and let me know. And also, I'm thinking I might be up for another comparison trial in a little while when my body's had a chance to get back to normal. So if there's a diet that you think that would be good for me to try, let me know. And if you're interested in having a personalized eating plan created just for you, go to my website to find out more. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.